Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED this weekend. Pete Belcaster with you, and thanks for being with us here on KMED, AM and FM, as we move along. Can you believe we're already the end of July and heading into August? All right, I'm going to tell you, it's football season, ain't that far away, folks, and you know what that's like for us. It's the fun time of the year, as you know that. Well, anyway, today here on the show, speaking of having a good fun time, it's good to see Frank Mania. He's from Ticor Title. First of all, Frank, welcome back to the show. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Pete. Good to see you.
Yeah, and how have things been going with you since we last spoke several months ago?
Oh, just really busy right now, Pete. There's a lot going on in the commercial market. There's groups from out of the area that are looking at commercial property. There's local groups that have been expanding and taking on some more space. We've got some new restaurants. Of course, we all know the In-N-Out Burger's coming. We're seeing some changes in ownership with Sleep Country to Sleep Train, and Costco's been in the news. They've been looking at a site, and they still haven't settled on a location yet, but I understand, I just heard the other day, I mean, they have several sites that they're trying to work right now in the Rogue Valley, and that's a good thing.
So that's where all good things come up. Well, I got some good questions for you, too, regarding, and we'll get to those in a little bit, regarding legal marijuana in business and in warehouses and that kind of thing. It's crazy, all the stories, that are going out there and what we're finding ourselves, but I want to get your take on that a little bit later on. That topic has been, it just evokes more emotion and more strange responses from people than you can imagine. Also with us today is JJ Kramer, who's a real estate broker with John L. Scott in our office. Of course, he's in the Medford office. And gosh, how long have you been a broker? I mean, well, first of all, welcome to our show. You've been around a long time, guy, haven't you?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. How long have you been doing this?
We started in 2002.
2002. And like so many people in real estate and all the agents who come on our shows, what did you do before you did this?
We owned a baseball card shop in Central Point.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you became a broker after that? Became
a broker, yep. Brian Lesney came in and said, you should be selling real estate, not baseball cards. So that's where we started.
And that's how you started. It's 2002. And yes, and Joe alluded to that earlier, but I know you just received, some big award. What was the big award that you got? I know it's from John L. Scott. Like one of the, come on, you could say that here on our show because, you've earned that. I've been a broker now, Joe, and I've been broker since 2007. And I think one thing we've learned is that the successful brokers are really people dedicated and who commit a lot of time and effort into this business. So I admire you. So tell people what you got because it's really cool.
All right. Well, we just recently, recently got noted in the Wall Street Journal as one of the top transaction closers. We closed 151 transactions in 2014, number 151 in the entire nation.
Wow. In the entire nation.
Yeah.
Frank, that's pretty good, isn't
That's fantastic. That's
So we like to help people get things closed.
Well, you do, and congratulations for that. Really, JJ. I mean, I really do. I do admire you a lot for that. Well, that would keep someone like Shannon Cully pretty busy if you're 151 transactions in a year. Shannon Cully is here also, and Shannon, you're an escrow officer, right, at Ticor Title, right?
I used to be an escrow officer.
Right.
Took a little time off, and now I'm back on the sales side.
So you and Frank kind of hang out together. Is that fair?
That's correct.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yes.
And is Frank cool? Is he sounds like when he comes in here?
He is amazing.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
I'm a big Frank fan.
Really? Wow. All right. Well, JJ, I know JJ's got a lot of things going on this weekend with people, and we here in our first segment of the show, we want to ask you certainly about the market and what you've seen here in 2015, because our listeners. Oh, Jim Remley was here. Our boss was here a couple of weeks ago, and he in Lennox Scott, who the grandson of John L. himself, was here a few weeks before that. I've never seen such optimism in my life, I think, in terms of what they're saying the market is doing and what it may continue. There's lots of issues out there, but from your perspective, you see a lot of it. Tell us what you're seeing here as we go into August now.
Well, the market is still very good. There's a lot of buyers that are looking for first-time home buyers and recommend they give us a call and we'll help them. There's a lot of people who are selling homes and upsizing or downsizing. And it just continues to be a great place to people want to live. I mean, everybody wants to be here. That's why we're here.
Well, where do the people coming from that you're talking with? Because that's why it seems that Frank and I, we've argued these things in our show. where are people coming from? Why are we seeing such activity here? Because it doesn't correlate, right, Frank, to the job levels and the kinds of things that we see as well, right? I mean, that's what we kind of go by, right?
Right.
All right. So, JJ, what's your take on it?
I think people are coming here from all over the world, in my mind. I'm, of course, a big believer in Southern Oregon. I've been here for about 25 years, and I've been in other places. I've been in California, Colorado, Vermont, Missouri, and we have it all here. We don't have the ticks, chiggers, the heat, the humidity. It's where everybody wants to be, in my opinion, and I think they're going to continue to come here. And I don't know how the housing market's going to be over the next 5 years. I know how it is today. It's extremely hot, and I'm personally buying whenever I can, still today.
So you also invest in correct?
Absolutely.
That's something that we've told many of our listeners for 6 years, that investing in real estate is once you start investing, you know the market's coming back, right? Shelley, everybody told us that, right, Frank?
That's right.
Yeah. So where is there a particular? Are they all old people like me? I mean, are they all baby boomers coming in here? Are they young people with families? JJ, who are you seeing this influx of these people who are coming here? Because I do agree with you that we have a great place here, and it's being, it's not being discovered. I think it's certainly being, people want to come here, but.
Well, I think that the last few sales I've been seeing happen I have friends that are coming from California. Of course,
sure.
They want to get out of the craziness down there. Being used to live down there myself, I know how crazy it has gotten even since I've gotten here. You go back to San Luis Obispo, and you don't recognize anything. And so I think the people are wanting to get away. We have a lot of local people. I specialize with local people. Most of my clients are local. So there are people wanting to buy, sell right here. And then we have a small amount that come from other areas that I'm seeing.
So in the case of what you're telling us in your particular area, you're having local people who are here, who are moving up, moving down. What's the other terms? Just whatever they're doing, moving up, whatever. Right? That's where the majority is coming from. In our what about price ranges and prices you're seeing? Because my contention, and Frank, back me up here now, is that. As long as real estate interest rates stay at this 4%, 3.7%, I mean, people can afford this, and the increases that we're seeing in values. What happens if that increases?
When the rates go up?
So prices.
Not if, but when the rates go up, you'll see a slowdown.
So price-wise right now, what are the things that you see the most of?
Well, we're seeing the most of $225 price, $225,000 to maybe 300 or 175 to 300 is the most.
Is
in the
most
valley.
Popular prices in the valley.
It's getting hard to find somebody.
I was going to ask you that. What about inventory? Because we see, I think the statistics show it's just a 2.3 month supply of inventory. So tell me the inventory side of this thing.
Well, the inventory levels are low, and when the hot deals come out, they get picked up. So there's more buyer pool than what we have available to choose from. And we also, as realtors here, are seeing not an increase in price. I haven't seen a huge increase in price over the last 3-4 months.
Last 3-4 months, okay.
I've seen a huge increase over the last year.
I was going to say it's doubled. It's a 12% higher increase.
Correct. But recently, what we've seen is prices not necessarily shooting up the way they were, which I think is good. We're kind of getting to more of a normal market, and I'm just excited to be a part of it.
What do you think the part of? Why do you think we have the shortage? I mean, everybody has an idea, in terms of foreclosures, or at one time, just a couple of weeks ago, we were seeing HomePath put 14, almost 30 homes onto the market, and since then, I've seen like 3. It's so bizarre.
I think part of that, Pete, is, we've seen some increases in consumer confidence right now again. And, we've gone through a period where there's been a lot of people that have lost their homes, in the last couple of years. And they've been through what we call what's known as credit correction. And they're ready to get back in the market. They still realize and understand and know that real estate is a good investment. It's all about numbers. It's how much you come into the transaction with, And I saw an article here. This is about 6 months ago, about 10 things you consider when buying real estate. One of the things they talked about in this article was go down to your local mortgage company and get pre-qualified, and whatever you qualify for, subtract 20% from that, and that's the price point you should be looking, at buying, and then put 20% down from that point. So you've got a good cushion so that we go through these corrections, and this is probably one of the longest corrections we've been through in a lot of years. You can sustain it. Because the value will come down a little bit, but you won't be in a position where you're going to be so over encumbered in a property that you're in financial trouble.
That would not be a prudent thing for you to do.
No. And I think there are a lot of people have kind of learned how to deal, look at real estate in a whole different aspect and how to deal with the financing of real estate and how to get into real estate. Because you need a place to live. And ultimately, even though you're in a location for a very long period of time, you're going to end up with something that has some value as opposed to being in a rental for 30 years.
I think you're probably very, very true. On the real estate show today, we're talking with Frank Mania from Tycourt Title and JJ Kramer from John L. Scott Real Estate here on the show. We'll get with Shannon's going to be here in a little bit. We're going to talk about some other things. What is the CFPB, which is the Federal Consumer
Financial Protection Board.
That board.
And Shannon's going to tell you the whole history about all that, how that's all come about.
And what we're going to expect now in October, but not now.
That's correct.
But I want to go back to JJ for a minute. I'm curious as to the investment part of real estate. Because, we have... when Danielle Roberts came in here, from Sterling West and Laurel Adams from All Cities, I mean, there's like a little bit less than 1% vacancy rate, in rentals. There's simply no rental properties in our county. I mean, it's amazing. There was 4,600 available units in the Southern Oregon Rental Association deal, and there's like 60 vacancies. So you're investing. I'm curious as to, because we think, and it's a smart thing to do, but tell me why you're doing that and what that means and what you see in terms of that part of the market, because people are really, and the prices are up, and there's no place to go.
Well, I still think that the price of a rental, if you're thinking about renting, is going to be as much or more than if you own. So I want to go back to and I think Jim Remley said to us that ownership is where wealth is in our future.
It's where wealth is generated.
Is where wealth is generated.
Okay.
Thank you. And so I just believe very strongly that if I can figure out how to organize a rental somewhere where I can have someone participating in the monthly payment of that eventually in 30 years or less, that'll pay off, and then we can look at some retirement.
So you're doing it for retirement, the purposes that we talk about all the time.
Exactly.
Are they available out there? I don't look for them myself. But I'm curious because so many people do, and call you and it seems to be. Well, shoot, where would you rather put your money, Frank, in the stock market or in some real estate?
Probably a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. That's fair.
Diversified.
Yeah. So that's a good thing, though. I mean, you encourage other people to do that as well?
Absolutely. And I think that, if you're looking at, duplexes, fourplexes, single-family residence, there's plenty of opportunity around our area to still grab great rentals or have something built.
Do you manage your own rentals, or do you have a property management kind of do that? Because it's people have different opinions on that.
We still manage our own rentals, but of course, I recommend Sterling West or
so you do all
cities.
So you know all those rules and all that stuff, huh?
We keep up with it, yeah.
Oh my! That was the one thing, Frank, we always learned is that there's the one thing we're never going to do is going to be property managers.
Not me.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to be out of time, but JJ is going to be leaving us here in a bit. So just 2015, the next half of the year, we're through the first half. Do you see this continuing? Tell me what your thoughts are.
I want to say thank you for having me. Remember to call JJ today when you need something. And also, I do think we're going to be fine for, some time. I don't know what's beyond 2016, but I do know right now interest rates are very low. My phones are still ringing, and I don't see any changes because remember, we already had the crash and we're still picking our feet up. And I think we've got a great future ahead of us.
There's nothing on the horizon right now that you say can slow us down. And you may be right. I mean, I certainly can't argue with you. I think you are right.
Okay,
and I think that's going to bode well for certainly for sellers. And you say, I just worry about price increases, and valuation increases, Frank, that are, don't want to get them out of control because that's what got things in trouble in the first place.
Well, but I think the lending has gotten a little more conservative.
Yes.
So we're back to some lending practices we haven't seen since the early 70s.
I can't believe what they want, but okay, yeah. How many years you got to go back? It's a lot of years anyway for all this stuff to do this.
And you've got to show that you can pay the loan back. So that's what I'm saying. We get back to some more conservative lending practices. We'll go through a correction, but it's not going to be anywhere near what we saw, through this last period.
Yeah. Well, I think you fellows are right. Well, JJ, nice to visit with you, and good luck to you.
Pete.
And you can
Thank
come back and
Frank.
visit with us anytime. All right.
All right.
That's for sure. The Real Estate Show here on KMED rolls along with Frank Mania. Coming up next, we'll talk with Shannon Cully as well. Lots of good information today. Real Estate Show here on KMED. Real Estate Show rolls on here on KMED this weekend, July 25th. Pete Belcastro with you. Don't forget, you can watch all of our shows on YouTube or at realestateshoworegon.com. We have some terrific shows we hope you'll tell your friends about if you missed them, and tell them good information, all sorts of real estate stuff. The most interesting thing I think this week was really about talking about the rental market in Jackson County is just... it's good to see that people like JJ Kramer, seriously, that he invests also, Frank, in property.
Absolutely.
And he is creating rental properties for people. And obviously he has no problem filling them, that kind of thing.
No, actually, there's a gentleman I know that's a builder, and basically all he does is build for himself. I mean, he's building new houses just for rental properties.
Yeah. Well, and there aren't any. I mean, we're seeing all the building activity well, Brad Bennington, from the home builders. Well, Brad was here last week, and one of the things that we talked about was we're seeing home building, but we don't see apartment building. We're not seeing investing going into that type of thing around. That's why we have a 1%, less than 1% vacancy rate.
Right.
So that means prices go up, and these are the people that can least afford those kinds of things in supply and demand, and it creates all sorts of problems.
Right. And land is a factor too, and finding properties to build. Apartment complexes that are in the several hundred units. The land's just not available.
Yeah, well, but so what are we going to do? Here we have I thought we had regional problem solving that solved all these problems.
It's in the works.
Yeah, I've heard that before. It's in the mail, Frank. It's in the mail. It's in the works. Good. Well, Shannon Cully is here as well, and Shannon is a sales executive, works with Frank down at Tycor. So, Shannon, nice to have you here. I didn't know, where did you grow up at? I was going to just ask people that still personal questions, but where did you grow up at?
I was raised in Coos Bay.
Coos Bay, a Coos Bay girl. Oh, cool. It's
a great place to be from.
It's one of Coos Bay is a cool town. I like Coos Bay. That's a good one too. Anyway, well, nice to have you here. So let's talk a little about commercial real estate because Frank, the SOMLS does not keep statistics, on. The way they do for residential housing. And so the commercial SOMLS is in Frank's brain because you kind of keep track of the commercial activity in the county and it takes place, right?
Yeah, I try to keep up with what's going on. There's a lot of things that are going on that are not discussed, openly. But I get some information from some people like Costco. I know they're still on the hunt right now, and I think they'll hopefully they may be making a move here in the next year. But,
right.
We're seeing groups. Like
Okay, go back to that. Why does Costco need to have another place? I mean, come on. Do they need another place?
Well, interestingly
is that
enough,
the way economic activity, I guess, has to be?
It's all about growth and
bigger
and
boxes.
bottom line. And interestingly enough, I was talking to someone down at the city. I was looking at the plan they had submitted for the property that they were looking at over by Trader Joe's.
Okay.
And the comment to me was, or the question was, do you know what their biggest selling product is, and what they make their most money on? I mean, my guess would have been like hot dogs and pizza. I mean, $150, right? But the answer to that was actually the gasoline.
Oh, I would say sure.
Yeah, gasoline, and the plan I saw had a pretty good size area for gas pumps. I mean, so
well, I know. See, Frank gets excited about another Costco. I just think that, geez, I don't know. Do we need another Costco kind of the same kind of place? But that's another thing. My question to you though, which I can't wait, because you talk about something that gets people right off the bat into camps, is the conference center in Medford, right? I mean, that's now the next thing. They got money for the legislature appropriated, I believe it was $100,000 to do the feasibility study, which would be about this how big of how big it would be, the community would need, things like that, right?
Yes.
Now
I've
that to me, you kind of heard that.
I know you
about
that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Right. What do you think about that? First of all, where do you think it should go? Because I believe we need one, and I know people get all sorts of creepy about that.
There's been so much discussion about a conference center over the years. I mean, they were looking at down by South Medford at one point in time, down by the Armory when they were building the South Medford Center. That kind of went away. Where else were they looking? Downtown Medford. I mean, there was some talk about knocking a whole bunch of buildings down, doing it somewhere.
So where would you like to see it?
Across from the airport.
So you're in the camp of the airport property.
I'm in the camp of the airport.
Okay, yeah. I'm not. All right.
Okay.
Do you know where I'm the camp of now?
No, where? I can't wait to hear this.
No, I think wouldn't a conference center be great down where where Lithia abandoned, all those downtown auto lots down around 4th and 5th, down by the Commons, that whole area in there. Now, doesn't that make sense? I mean, it's got transportation to it. You've got public transit. No. All right. What do you think of that?
I think parking might be a problem, depending on how large the center they're going to build.
Medford's got more parking garages than God has created. So,
but there's small little parking areas all over the city.
Well, I don't know how big
we'd have to run a trolley.
I don't know how big a conference center would need. But anyway, that's a good location. The fact that we're even talking about it is important again, because of our future and future of people coming here with jobs, and I mean they're going to come here. They love to come here and visit. We need to take advantage of that, and we don't.
And I think you may be onto something there, going in the downtown area. I mean, because there's been obviously an exodus for a lot of reasons out of the downtown area businesses, and some of those buildings, in my opinion, you can retrofit them either for seismic reasons or for new businesses, but that would be very costly, very expensive. We just saw the county go through that when they bought the old post office. I mean, they looked at that building and they finally came to the conclusion that it was going to be cheaper to knock the building down and build a whole new one. And I think we'll see more of that in the downtown area over the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. All right, what has happened in terms? I read an article in a Realtor magazine, regarding Colorado and the warehouses, et cetera, that you can't find commercial property in Colorado, and I don't know about Washington State as much. And that's not happening here on that scale, but is it happening here too?
A little bit.
What's going on with that?
Some of the realtors I'm talking to, they're getting some inquiries about warehouse space and open space and storage, and where we're all going with ordinances for marijuana and cannabis, and how much can we grow and where can we store it, et cetera, et cetera. So we're getting some of that activity here.
Are you keeping track of, or will you keep track of? Because what's interesting about it is that we're really creating a whole new industry, a whole new public. I don't even know how to describe it. I've never seen something like this before.
Yeah, and it'd be very difficult to track at this point in time until the ordinance.
But in terms of how many people are involved with it, how many stores, the amount of monies or whatever. Because it's going to be a fascinating topic, and it certainly is affecting real estate, especially in rural properties. We just heard today, in terms of water rights and water issues, there's a lot of that coming up with people who are moving here for certain things, and they don't know. So I think all that makes it,
and it's a cash business. I mean,
it's an all cash business.
It's an all cash business, and I'm hearing stories about people walking into places with $25,000 and $50,000 to looking for irrigation supplies and all kinds of things.
Now I know you also hang out with the So Ready people. I mean, Frank goes in and out. Frank goes into more offices than anybody. Tell me about any economic development world in terms of jobs or what's their optimism, kind of. Tell me what that's going on there.
The hunt is still on to try and get businesses here. That's happening. I don't think I've heard of anything, any large scale businesses coming to this area.
They're just not out there.
It's just not out there. Not yet. At this point in time, it depends on, in my opinion, where the RPS goes and how they expand the boundaries and
in terms of land use,
et cetera, et cetera. So, but And I'm not sure that bringing large businesses here is what we want to do. Maybe medium to small, medium businesses.
The last big one was really Amy's Kitchen, right?
Right.
Right. And they've done very well and
They're
expanded.
doing very well, and they've
I know.
expanded. And,
Yeah.
And of course, we've seen operations like, of course, the Lithia Corporation and the
them.
Auto
Wow.
Mall. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand they're selling anywhere between 225 to 275 units a month.
Well, my good friend Jason Lawrence, who's out there at Lithia at the Superstore, they had the best month ever in June. It was 288, something like that. They're remarkable totals.
Right.
It's like real estate, Frank. I mean, what's going on here?
I know. So, and ask them about used cars. They can't keep used cars anywhere on the lots.
See, there's so much good news to talk about. I'm trying to find the dark cloud, and I'm having trouble with that.
No, it's slow going, but it's going.
All right, the Real Estate Show here on KMED, AM and FM. Pete and Joe here. Thank you for joining us. We got one more segment to go here. And I promise we'll be right back right after this. Real Estate Show continues here on KMED this weekend. Pete Belcastro with you. Don't forget, you can go to our website and watch any of our past shows at realestateshoworegon.com. We also have our YouTube channels. You can go there and watch them as well. Please tell your friends about that. We appreciate it. And, of course, all of our sponsors as well. And, of course, today we have an old sponsor with us, Frank Mania from Tycor Title. And Shannon Culley from Tycor is here. Earlier, we had JJ Kramer was here. Joe even stopped by for a while. Heck, we had a lot of people here for a minute, and everybody left us. It's just the three of us left in the room now. But it's good to have you with us as well. We're talking a little commercial real estate with Frank and with Shannon as well. Shannon, you like so Frank goes, I mean, I'm always curious as to how commercial differs from residential in terms of, just the real estate world is different with it, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot, but...
well, closing commercially is very, very different.
How is it different?
Well, it just requires a lot more intentional. I mean, you could hundreds and hundreds of pages of leases and and due diligence that's involved with a commercial transaction.
Because you do a lot of leases. I'm thinking sales of buildings, but actually you do more leases. I mean, there's more leases that go on in commercial real estate than building sales, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, like BLM land leases and things like that.
Yeah,
So
government leases.
Yep.
I've thought about that. Yeah, there's a lot of that, isn't it?
Yep.
Just about that. Okay, there's been some changes. I know we were supposed to start on August the 1st. The Consumer Protection Division, whatever they are, the new department, I can never get it right. But anyway, they I think they've done some really good things in terms of consumers and helping consumers. Because gosh darn it, I mean, big banks and anyway, I don't like any of that kind of thing. But the group has probably done some good things. So we were going to have some changes that were going to take place the way you close a deal. On August 1st, but that got pushed back all of a sudden to October. Okay, you're the expert on it, Shannon. Tell us what was supposed to happen and why should consumers care about it?
Well, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau
that's the one.
I know.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah, that group.
They came into play after the financial downfall that occurred, and some new legislation came into play. And the intention of the CFPB is to enforce clarity in lending and to prevent predatory lending practices that we saw very much in the late 2000s that created essentially some of the problems. So, yes, they did. August 1st, it was supposed to roll out. And they just recently discovered that they had not quite followed all the rules and didn't give the notices to the proper parties. And so now it's been extended to October 1st.
So it wasn't a change in the deal.
No,
it was just a procedural delay.
Right.
Okay. So what if I go in when we got a lot of our listeners, man, if you're pending, well, maybe not if you're pending, you might be closed by then, but say after October, and we have people who are selling properties. What are they going to face, both the buyer and the seller here?
The biggest thing that we're going to see, and probably the thing that makes our real estate brokers the most nervous, is that after October 1st, any deal that is inked after, actually it's October 3rd because the 1st and the 2nd, I believe, are holiday or weekend. October 3rd, so that's when it would become effective. So anything in escrow prior to that is not a part. Anything after October 3rd is probably going to require some additional days for closing. Additional days.
Okay.
The National Association of Realtors is suggesting not writing an offer for less than a 45-day closing.
45 day
45
closing.
days.
So when we've always tried to close something, in 30 days, which is always what 30 days or less,
Right.
hopefully you can. So the NAR is going to recommend a 45-day closure after
At least
this.
until we get through the speed bump and navigate these changes.
Okay.
I think it'll be possible to get back eventually to
And
a
what
30
and
day.
what's going to hold it up? I mean, what's the deal here?
Well, part of it is the lenders, in part of preventing the predatory lending practices. The lenders are now issuing new documentation that allows the borrowers or the consumers 3 days to receive the documents in the mail, regular mail, and then 3 additional days to review them before they come to escrow to sign. So that's 6 days.
So when the because right now, when the documents are received by you, right?
Right.
It's all ready to sign and close, right?
Right.
I mean, the lending has all been done. So now, if I hear you right, I'm going to get them in the mail, and I've got 3 days to have to look at them, right? And then I've got 3 more days after I sign
review.
it. Oh, 3 more days to review.
It's not a rescission period, so don't be confused
okay.
about that. The idea is to make sure that the documentation and the numbers that were provided by the lender at the beginning of the transaction are still the same now that we're 45 days at the end of the transaction.
Okay.
If something has changed or was not disclosed properly, that can be a problem for the lender. The lender may actually end up having to eat some of the costs that they didn't disclose if they didn't disclose properly. But most importantly, it's going to cause a redisclosure of the numbers if anything changes. And that could cause another 6 days.
So if there was a change that somebody made, it goes back to 6 days. You got to
Right.
first of all, you got to redo the numbers. Then you got 3 more days to review. Then 3 more days to mail out.
Right.
So it's going to add. So at a minimum, it's going to add 6 to 8 days.
Right.
So that's why they're recommending a longer close time. Well, I know, and that's good to know going into a transaction after October the 3rd, because I know a lot of sellers, they want to close and buyers want to get in the house, and so you need to realtors need to be aware then, and buyers and sellers, that closing is going to be longer.
The most important thing as we move forward through this is going to be communication between the business partners, so the brokers and their lenders primarily, but also the escrow needs to be involved as well. So communicate.
Yeah, that's
Make sure that
interesting,
everybody's on
won't
the same
that?
page.
And so all of you, like at Tycor, I mean, you got to get all this ready to go, and you guys all got to know what to do, right?
We were ready to roll out August 1.
So you were ready. Okay. And so you'll be ready to go October the 3rd.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're almost out of time here, Frank. Back with Frank Mania. The next few months, second half of the year, things are just. I mean, there's like I say, there's hard to find hard to find a dark cloud out here right now.
No, I think again, the confidence is coming back to the point where we're at a point where we're seeing sustainability, and I've called the market over the last couple of years kind of the dolphin market, where we're kind of up for 30 days, down for 30 days, and just kind of jumping up and down in and out of the water. And I think we're kind of back to a point now where we're seeing steady growth, some confidence, and long-term sustainability in the real estate market again. And Oregon and Washington Pacific Northwest are pretty hot markets right now for people that want to retire. I mean, years ago it was the Sun Belt, it was Arizona. No, it's not. Texas is still a little warm.
The weather's horrible. JJ Kramer was right about one thing. People want to come here because of the same reason we're all here. Yeah, the great weather. And this weekend's been beautiful. The last week hasn't it been great? Not that 109 degree stuff. But.
Yeah, and we're seeing people go like Montana and Colorado and Idaho. And that's kind of where they're retiring to.
Yeah. Interesting how that all changes. Yep. Well, Frank, nice to visit with you.
Good
You take care of
Pete.
yourself.
Thank
Shannon, nice to visit with you as well. That'll do it for the Real Estate Show here on KMED for this weekend. Hey, thanks for joining us. Don't forget you can check out our shows at realestateshoworegon.com or on YouTube as well. There's blogs. There's all sorts of things there for you to enjoy. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next weekend right back here on KMED. Have a great week, everybody, and God bless.
Listening to the Real Estate Show on KMED AM and FM radio, presented by John L. Scott Real Estate of Southern Oregon, along with All Cities Property Management, the Home Builders Association of Jackson County, Ditech Mortgage, the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District, and the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. For guest information or to watch a past show, visit us online at realestateshoworegon.com. Join us again next weekend for Southern Oregon's one and only Real Estate Show on KMED.